Today I am joined by someone who probably needs no introduction, Freelee, the banana girl. Hello, Freelee. How are you doing? So awesome to see
Hello.
you.
I am awesome. Thanks for having me. I'm
Yeah,
excited.
thanks for coming on. Yeah, before we get into the interview, I just want to take a moment to say thank you because I really don't know where I would be today if it wasn't for all the amazing advice that you give here on YouTube and on all the other social media platforms. So thank you so much for devoting your life to serving this world and yeah, especially young females. So thank you.
Thank you. That means a lot. Thank you for actually taking on my advice and implementing it. And that's how you get great results. It's yeah, she's got the sugar water. Awesome.
Yeah, I'm trying it for the first time today.
Good to
But
see.
yeah, before we get into it, maybe you want to give a quick introduction for those who don't know you yet, which I'm sure are not going to be that many people because I made some
Oh,
videos about you on my channel before. But yeah,
I just love talking about myself, not. I'm always so awkward, but
you can keep it short, just a couple
yeah,
sentences.
I mean, I've been on a fruit-based diet for over 18 years. I came to a fruit-based diet because of ill health. I had terrible digestion. I had bulimia at the time. I was coming from also a past of anorexia, drug taking. I was basically a real mess. So I've been on this lifestyle, like I said, over 18 years, and I would say I'm an expert in fruit-based nutrition by this point because I've been studying endlessly conventional nutrition as well previously. And yeah, an expert in sugar as well. And I also live off grid in the jungle in North Queensland, Australia. And I grow a lot of fruit.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing. So, a few years ago, many years ago, you released 40 pounds, and your success stories has inspired countless women around the world. And you have maintained your weight. I think you're one of the very few influencers I know who has maintained her weight for decades now, always being lean, always being carved up as well. And you've talked a lot about diet, but what would you say apart from diet are a few other pieces of the puzzle that you would say are very important that have helped you release and maintain the weight, and would you say to others as well?
I think mainly, apart from, I would like to say a little bit on diet, being consistent on a low fat fruit based diet, consistency, really important. But other than diet, I would say exercise, being consistent with exercise, but not to the point where it's like obsessive, because that's how I used to be with exercise. And a fruit based diet has been amazing for helping me just accept that I don't need to move as much and I don't need to, force myself to stress my body in order to get results. So I would say that is important. Definitely consistent movement. Also, sleep. Sleep is something that people don't give enough credit to. They don't give enough attention to because if you don't sleep well enough, then it's going to affect how you eat. It's going to affect your motivation to move. So you're less likely to move and you're more likely to eat crap. Right. So sleep is really important. Um, I guess I also have mantras during exercise where I say, I'm fit, healthy, and lean, or I'm fit, healthy, and strong. And I'll just repeat it over and over again, some exercise sessions. And I think those positive mantras are really powerful as well because it just gets into your subconscious and it becomes you. And also visualization. I've done a lot of visualization in my past and I'm a little bit lazy on it at this point, but I really should get back into it. But visualization is really powerful. Just seeing yourself how you want to be, not seeing yourself how you are. Because at the time when I had the 40 pounds on me, I wasn't too happy. I wasn't too happy to look in the mirror and see what I was like. And even though I wasn't obese or anything, but I definitely had some issues related to carrying that extra 40 pounds, like chafing thighs that would basically bleed and I'd have to band-aid them. And yeah, just it was far too much weight for my body frame. So those things I think, yeah, consistent exercise, consistent low fat, fruit based, visualization, mantras, sleep, important.
Thank you for sharing. And you mentioned exercise, which I think a lot of people equate to weight loss. But I love that you shared that, it's not that you need to push yourself or that you need to overdo it. And I found that actually when you come to a fruit-based lifestyle, you have so much energy because you're
Mhm.
always carved up that you want to move. And I remember seeing your videos back in the days and seeing you cycling and just really enjoying it and taking it easy. And I wanted to ask you, how has your journey with exercise evolved over the years? What are your favorite types right now? Are you still into cycling?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely still into cycling, but not as much as I was. I'm probably more into jogging. I've been jogging since I was 17, consistently. But and I think people, when they hear that, they're like, "Oh, that's the reason that she lost the weight. That's the reason she's lean. I don't want to be an athlete. I don't want to do that much." But honestly, I do the bare minimum. I just go out there for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and do it fairly easy. But I'm consistent over a long period of time, and that's everything. That is my secret, honestly. So, yeah, how it's changed from being from the previously before fruit based is, like I touched on before. I'm less. I'm not obsessed. Do you know what I mean? I was obsessed. I was training multiple times a day previously when I was on a meaty diet, and it just wasn't working. It just wasn't working. I was an absolute mess, and I was taking weight loss drugs, all sorts of things like clenbuterol, and people can look that up if they want. And it was making me like train hard, and I could go really quite hard, but my gosh, I had to really pay for that drug taking, and it actually, damaged my metabolism further. It set me back a lot. And now how I approach it is, if I don't want to train, I don't. It's fine. It's not a big stress because my body knows I'm in balance. Got that homeostasis going on and that balance when it comes to moving my body. And I think the main thing really is just not that crazy, crazy obsession that, having that in the past. I'm so glad that is in the past because now I'm just more relaxed. I'm still consistent. I don't feel like the need to push myself so hard all the time. And I enjoy jogging and cycling, yoga. But if I miss like a week, it's fine.
Thank you for sharing. It's beautiful. And when you were in that process of releasing weight, I remember you shared how you visualized yourself and did these affirmations while you're exercising, which I love so much. What were your like biggest roadblocks, your biggest challenges back then to overcome to release that weight, and how did you then end up overcoming them?
I think like the biggest challenge was just psychologically being at the weight and not wanting to be there, obviously, and having those thighs rubbing together, having people, some people even make comments because I was new to the diet, and they're like, "Oh, you just eat raw food. You don't look like it." Getting those sort of comments and stuff like that. So just having the psychological strength, building that up, and realizing that, yeah, it takes time. It takes time, and I had to accept that I'd done a lot of damage to myself over many years, and I had to be realistic about the time frame in which the results were going to come, and just be consistent at it. The biggest challenge is just the blisters, I'd say, the psychological challenge. But overall, I mean, I was feeling so good. I was feeling so good, even though I had the weight on, because I was suddenly digesting food properly, coming from a past of really, really poor digestion and seeing gastroenterologists and homeopaths, naturopaths, Chinese doctor. I'm not kidding. I've seen them all. Okay. I've seen them all. And they didn't help me. They basically made my symptoms worse. So when I came to raw food and my digestion, like I should clarify, like sweet fruit, I'm not talking about just, cacao, avocado mousse and stuff like that and crackers and no, 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 that doesn't work. But the sweet fruit was making me feel so amazing. And for me, it was worth it, right? It was so worth it to stay on track. Even though I wasn't where I wanted to be, I knew this is what I wanted to do. And that's why it's been over 18 years, because I just love the lifestyle so much.
Thank you for sharing. And yeah, thank you for sharing how you overcome those challenges. And I definitely got those comments too in the beginning when I started doing raw food, but wasn't looking like it. So I can really relate how it feels. And I think that is maybe something holding a lot of people back.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, people can be, yeah. I mean, it all depends on how you want to take it too. You can use it as motivation. It's up to you. And that's the best way to do it, right? Don't give your power to somebody else just because they say they disapprove of you, they say you look a certain way, and who cares? That you're not living for them, you're doing this for you, and you really need to remember that and embrace it.
And at any point during your weight loss journey, have you experienced amenorrhea? I hope I'm
Mm.
pronouncing this correctly. So period loss. And if so, how did you get it back?
So in 2007, I did actually lose my period for 9 months when I first went raw. And I think, I mean, at the same time, I did actually quit the contraception pill after 7 years. So it's really hard for me to pinpoint exactly what it was because I could have been under eating. I could have been under eating quite a bit. But at the same time, I do feel like I was having enough to cover the period. So I think it was a hormonal rebalancing, right? And it came back. So 9 months later, I had a big old binge on cooked food for about a month, and the period just came flowing back. So very interesting. And if there is anyone experiencing that, firstly, they have to check if they're eating enough calories in general and enough carbohydrates. Okay, that's very, very important because there's a lot of like keto eaters getting around now, as everybody knows. And that's a good way to lose your period. That's for sure. So I got it
Yeah, I
back.
think
I got it back by binging on cooked food at that point.
strange. Do you think that then raw food can cause you to lose your period? Because I think from what I understand, you're still a big proponent of raw food, right? So,
Yeah, yeah. No, no, no. It's not it's not the fruit. It's not the raw food. It's the body that it's going into, right? I had a lot of rebalancing to do. I can't tell you how much I damaged my body. So the period came back after the cooked food and it hasn't gone since then. And I'm nearly 45 and it's still regular and it's pain free. And yeah, can't say anything more positive than that.
and you got it back even, or it stayed there even when you went back to fully raw at times, right? Like,
Some dodgy lights around here. My usual
yes.
studio lights aren't working properly. So if things kind of explode in the background, just we can continue later. Sorry. Um, what were you asking exactly? I,
I was
I got
asking
distracted.
when you went back to raw after you got your period back again, you still continued to have your period, so it was just that period that didn't really have
That
anything to do.
period. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
That's
the
right.
period.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Pun intended.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. Yeah, so I guess to summarize, you could say that the main cause is hormonal and there can be many related things, contraceptive
Yeah,
pill
yeah,
and just under eating. So it's important to always eat enough carbohydrates.
exactly.
And yeah, you mentioned cooked food, so I thought let's get into some controversial
Oh, for
topics.
sure, for sure.
So a lot of raw foodists say that you should completely eliminate salt, so the table salt, out of your diet, and they recommend it. And I remember from watching your videos that you used to do something very similar as well. So do you still do that? And what are your thoughts on what's your take on salt?
Yeah, so I don't still do that. I definitely add salt, and I don't know many individuals who eat cooked food and don't add salt. It's just, it's necessary, right? Because it's pretty bland without it. Let's just be honest. And I know that I am compromising by eating the cooked food, but we can get more into that. But when it comes to salt, the body doesn't have a need for sodium chloride. the fragmented salt. It doesn't. So you can get everything you need from, I mean, it has a need for sodium, but not that bound sodium to chloride. You don't need that, okay? And it can be extremely dangerous. I mean, someone can kill themselves on a heaped tablespoon of salt, of sodium chloride, right? Imagine doing that with sugar. It'll never happen. So it just gives you an idea of how dangerous it is. So you can easily cover it on fruits, greens, tomatoes. Perfect. You just need to eat enough. It always comes back to eating enough, securing enough calories in the diet. Because I see far too many fruit-based eaters, like raw foodists, eating hardly any calories and basically wasting away. And that may not cover your sodium needs if you're eating that little. So my thoughts on it are if you're on a raw food diet, you don't need to have fragmented sodium chloride. You don't need to add it. You just need to eat enough, have some fruits, greens. I recommend greens as well, and have those tomatoes in there as well, great for sodium. And yeah, you don't have to add any more, but when you're eating cooked food, it's definitely easy. Like the main issue here is getting too much, right? Making sure you don't get too much sodium chloride.
So what are some ways, are you like tracking your salt intake, and do you have some ways that you use to keep the salt a little bit lower?
Recommend people aim for less than 1,000 milligrams per day, sodium chloride. Um, I don't have any tracking at all anymore. I kind of loosely used to track it, but I just go with how I feel and my results and how salty my sweat is as well, which is a random way to track it. And if my blood tests are balanced, which they are, then I can't see really any problem.
So I guess to summarize it, you are in a way making a little bit of a compromise with the salt because you do acknowledge that it's not optimal for the body, but you also go with the joy of life and you enjoy your cooked food more with it. So that's why
Yeah,
you
yeah, it's
like
one
to
of those
eat it.
things, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
a trade-off. You get that freedom to have that yummy cooked meal at the end of the day, which isn't really that yummy when you think about it. It needs that added sodium chloride. But it seems to be worth it at this point for me. Eventually, I might go all raw again. Like I like to go back and forth. I don't mind, but I don't feel any pressure to be all raw at this point.
Right. And that's actually something I also wanted to first up share with you that I'm truly, this is probably one of the things I'm the most grateful to you because you really helped me to let go of these ideals. Because before I found you on YouTube, I was a hardcore raw foodist trier. But because I was so new to it, I constantly was almost rebounding, failing, binging, and then trying again. And then when I
Mhm.
found you, I finally let go of that idea and I understood, hey, I can still move forward even if I eat cooked food with my health. And then when I started accepting that and acknowledging that, I actually moved forward faster than
Oh, that's good.
ever while still eating cooked food. So I'm so grateful to you for
Oh, good.
that. And I wanted to ask you, how did your process look like? Because I'm sure you were into that
Mhm.
raw food ideal at one point as well. And how did that process look like of also sharing online about, okay, hey, how now I'm eating cooked food again and I'm still experiencing amazing health. So,
Yeah, it it isn't too deep, really. It isn't too deep. I just decided it wasn't really sustainable for me at that time when I shifted from the raw to the cooked because I was raw for almost 6 years. And but over after that 6 years when I did start eating cooked food, I was trying to get back to the raw, like you were talking about, trying to get back to it quite a bit and thinking I had to do raw. I'm not going to be healthy without all raw. This is the optimal. And look, it is optimal to eat your species specific diet like every other animal in nature, isn't it? It's a correct diet for us is a fruit-based, raw fruit-based, sweet fruit-based diet. That is optimal. But in this environment, in the well, I'm not living in a concrete jungle, but most people are. And I do visit the concrete jungle, but I feel with my partner as well, we do I think my partner comes into it here as well, because if one is on it and one isn't, that's definitely going to influence how you eat as well. And I'm not saying that he's anti-raw or anything. He loves to do raw as well, but we don't always align at the same time. Uh, that we want to do raw at the same time. So it's kind of this process of we've let it go, but we're happy to do some raw days, even weeks, maybe longer. We're happy to go back. It's just this in between place where we feel happy having that cooked meal at night, and it's not a big stress, and it's just a matter of accepting that it's okay. It's okay to have some cooked food, depending on your health too, right? Like some people are experiencing some serious health issues and they should be all raw. They really should be. That's an important point to make because some people just need to have at least a couple of years on raw to really recalibrate and rebalance their hormones and the whole system. So for some people, it depends on your situation, but for me, it's like I feel good eating some cooked food. When I start to not feel good doing that, then I will go back to raw. Or if I feel like just having a period on, sweet fruit, then I'll do that as well because we grow it here. We grow a lot of jackfruit. We have a lot of fruit, but not all the time. And the quality of fruit matters a lot, right? I was eating so much poor quality fruit for years when I was doing it for 6 years. And it can become very unsatisfying. And I find with that dense cooked food at the end of the day, it's something to look forward to as well, and to just top up that your glycogen stores so you're fully charging. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Did you ever at any point struggle with guilt during that process of letting go of that fully raw ideal?
Never guilty. No, I wouldn't say guilt is a word. I think it more like I know I'm compromising and I like to maintain high standards. So it was more of that feeling of like, you're compromising, but I let it go. Yeah, I let it go. And people will say, well, you lowered your standards, and that might be true. But if you're feeling good and you're happy and it's good for your relationship, then I don't see a problem.
What are your favorite cooked foods that you like to incorporate where you still feel really, really good?
I really try to stick to cooking fruits first rather than going straight to grains. So plantains, fruits and roots, I should say, plantains, all sorts of bananas, actually, even pineapple, breadfruit. We grow a lot of breadfruit here, and I know that's probably not attainable for most people watching, but breadfruit. And then I will go to like sweet potatoes. I love white potatoes. I have to say, white potato is my favorite starch, I would say. And I don't mind some brown rice. What else? Yeah, I mean, I eat it all. Like I eat pasta. I eat pasta. I do eat bread sometimes, but I still keep myself under control when it comes to the cooked carbohydrates because they don't all make you feel the same. So I'd say baked white potato with sweet chili sauce is probably my favorite.
Amazing. So it didn't really change all these years because I remember seeing your old videos and back then you were eating it almost every day.
Was I?
So
I'm
yeah, you were
obsessed.
eating like potatoes with some chili or tomato sauce every day. I remember that. And
That's the
that was
thing.
also
Like,
the meal that I started incorporating at
yeah,
one
well, I
point.
mean, like it's an enjoyable way to eat. Like I feel satisfied. I don't want to eat any other way. Like I'm quite basic. I like to keep it simple. I like mono meals. I like the meals of potatoes. How I mean most people like potatoes, right? Because it's high GI. It's it's higher than white sugar and gives you that hit, right? The spike that we're looking for. We like that spike.
Do you still practice fully raw days? Like, do you have like a couple every week, or do you rather like to do like a period, a longer period? at once and then go back, or how does that look for you at the moment?
I do. We do have fully raw days. We don't usually plan them or anything. It just happens. Maybe we don't have the carbs that we want, like the cooked carbs, or we have a lot of fruit on at that time. We have heaps of jackfruit, so it's the biggest fruit in the world. So we will just eat that all day sometimes.
It's awesome. And how many calories do you eat approximately per day right now? I'm guessing you're in weight maintenance, so like what does it look like for you at the moment?
It's been like around 2,500 for forever. It seems to be my happy place. 2,400, 2,500 calories seems to be just what makes me feel the best, get the best performance, and be satisfied as well.
Amazing. Wow, that's wonderful to hear because, as you mentioned in the beginning, like you say, you're not as active right
Hmm.
now, right?
I'm
So
not.
you still are able to eat so many calories and stay lean. So
Yeah,
I
I mean,
think
my weight fluctuates a couple of kilos, and but I don't mind. Like, I was previously skinnier than I am now. I'm not sure if you can notice or not, but it's kind of hard on here. But I gained a few kilos, but I needed to as well. I was, I think, too on the skinny side. I feel actually better having a little bit more weight, but what caused that exactly is I'm not really sure. But I mean, I'm 45 soon, so I'm in that perimenopause kind of stage as well. So where the hormones are like shifting all over the place. But I'm definitely happy eating around 2,500 calories.
okay, so in your 40s, you still look so young. You're so lean. What is your secret?
I wouldn't say so young, stop it. I'm like, I feel like it's just, I'm happy with whatever comes my way. Like if I get all wrinkled up, yeah, then okay. But I am eating in a way that is really helping hydrate my cells a lot. So I see other women my age who definitely look a lot more weathered, right? And I've grown up in Queensland, Australia, which is one of the hottest, driest places, honestly. I mean, it's not dry. In some places, it's very dry. But this weather here is like for a white, fair girl, it's pretty tough on the skin, you know what I'm saying? So you do show the aging like quite a lot in this kind of environment if you're eating crap. Like the crap, I'm not saying the sun is the cause, but I think the sun plus the junk is not doing people any favors, that's for sure. My my secret, look, I've been adding one thing, sugar has been really quite amazing because I've been adding sugar for over 12 years now. And I find it's amazing because it helps hydrate, helps bring water into the cell and gives you that deep hydration. We can talk more about it when we get into the sugar talk. But I think exercising consistently, so you're sweating, is so good for your skin and for your overall health in general. Doing that sweating consistently, having the fruit, obviously. Like I can't say enough about fruit. It's amazing. It's the queen. Having that juicy fruit, having the sugar water has been really good. And yeah, I think they're the best tips really.
Thank you for sharing. And you mentioned sugar, so I thought that would be a good opportunity to
Yay.
get into it.
Oh,
What would you say, other than the hydration of the cells, are like the biggest benefits that you've experienced from eating sugar? And I
I
want to mention here for everyone who's not sure what we mean, we are saying white table sugar, right?
yeah, exactly. White table sugar. Yes. That's what okay, so the benefits have been increased warmth. Like I used to get quite cold feet, even on raw, on any, fruit based, raw till four. But now my feet are like consistently warm. This is a very random one, but it does increase your metabolic rate and the circulation as well because you've got more glucose in there. You have more fuel. You have more fuel stored in your glycogen stores in your liver. It's good. So Yeah, no more cold feet. So it can help increase your warmth, especially good in maybe Europe as well when it's cold. And mental focus, really good. It's really good for mental focus and energy and the desire to actually train. Even though I've been consistently training jogging for a long time, my desire to go and do it is increased because I have more glycogen store, most likely. Like I said, the hydration, there's individuals in the group who are experiencing I've got this VIP community, if no one knows about that.
Link down below for
Ah,
anyone.
thank you. It's like a paid VIP community where I teach people about fruit-based diet, and I'm doing a 12-month course at the moment. So people are sharing their benefits in the group since incorporating the white sugar or any sugar really, because they all digest pretty much the same. But the white sugar is actually the purest, believe it or not. People are like, no, no, that's the crap, but we'll get into that. Lastly, maybe the tanning. Tanning way better, which is very interesting because I experienced that when I was all raw, more so, and I thought it was to do with the beta carotene. But I'm having this cooked meal, which usually gets rid of that effect, but it doesn't now that I'm adding the sugar. So I don't know what that is, but the skin really loves those sun crystals. I call it sun crystals. I think it's nicer than white sugar.
Nice. Thank you for sharing. So I want to get a little bit into some myth around sugar.
Mm.
Um, we already talked about white sugar, so and you said that they're, that it's the best, the most purest, and a lot of people say, I want to rather eat some maple syrup or I put some agave syrup in my food instead of like a lot of plant-based people also recommend
Mm.
maple syrup for the cakes they bake. Um, what are your thoughts about that? Like, where would you say does maple sugar and agave syrup fall in on that spectrum, and why is white sugar superior?
Hmm. So I really love maple syrup. I love it. And maple sugar is amazing. I'm not sure if you've tried maple sugar.
Yeah, I
Oh,
have.
that is good. It is really good. The problem is when they're heating the plant material, the sap and everything, when they're heating it for hours and hours and hours, it does create this Maillard reaction. There's melanoidins, these compounds that are essentially the same as what you find on the baked potato, that browning effect. So you do get that with the maple syrup and also the agave syrup as well. So that becomes, if you're ingesting quite a bit of that, I don't know, you're probably fine. You're probably fine, but I'm not really, I can't say. I can't say for sure. It's definitely not a plus to boil plant material like polyphenols and stuff like that for hours and hours and hours because they oxidize and it's not exactly beneficial to health. So there can be a place for them for sure. Agave syrup actually has quite a lot of fructose. It's like higher on the fructose glucose split. And I don't know how good that is either, because the good thing about white sugar or the sun crystals, I call it sun crystals because it actually is captured sun from the plant actually makes the sucrose or the white sugar through photosynthesis. It basically captures sunshine in that crystal. It's a crystal of light, of sunshine. And it's a beautiful thing, really, even though people think it's terrible. But it is the purest, and that's why I recommend it above all other sugars. You're getting a 99.95% pure crystal. And for me, that's better. I want the pure stuff. It's like you want the filtered water, you want the purest water too.
Yeah.
You don't want to have the extras with it. And that's why I feel like there is a place for the maple syrup and the other sugars if you really want. But just keep in mind that there are these melanoidins involved and maybe they're not optimal for your health.
So good to know because I used to eat maple syrup and agave syrup and even coconut sugar in the thought of this is so much better than white sugar. You know,
Mm,
I'm doing something good for my health here by replacing the white sugar with these alternatives. And
yes.
now having that clarity, and it resonates on every level with me, what you're saying about the white sugar.
Mm,
So one thought I used to carry for a long time in my head is that white sugar is bleached and
mhm.
it contains a lot of chemicals. What are
Yes,
your thoughts
yes.
on that?
Well, it's not bleached. I think the first thing people need to understand is that white sugar is actually transparent. It's clear. It's not actually white. And that's huge, right? I've believed that most of my life that white sugar was white and it was bleached, and I believed all of that propaganda that's been pushed on us. But it's not true at all. There's no bleaching agents at all. It's a filtration and clarification that happens at the stage that people think is bleaching. So, and if the solution, that sugar syrup, was actually bleached, then when it gets to the point of when the molasses is spun off, that's one of the last processes. And you know what molasses looks like, right? It's dark. It's very dark. So that would be white. It would be bleached if that was the case. It wouldn't be like almost black. So what's used is lime. It's called slaked lime, and it's been used by the Aztecs and the Mayans to make what are they, tortillas. It's actually one of the oldest processing aids, like food grade processing aids in human history. So it's been, and that doesn't always mean it's good, but this is just from limestone. Okay, that's where it originates. There is nothing at all wrong with lime, the slaked lime, because people are like, oh, it's got lime added to it. Look, this is just a process of clarification. It's one of the first processes where they're removing the plant, like the impurities, basically. They're not bleaching anything. And there's also carbon dioxide, which we all know we breathe that out. There's nothing wrong with that. And sometimes they use bone char, which obviously I'm not too happy with as a vegan. I don't want to use the bone char. In Australia, they don't use it at all. And in America and maybe Europe, I'm not sure exactly, but the main sugar that is available in America is the beet sugar. Okay, it comes from beets. So that one is actually free of bone char naturally. That they never ever use bone char. But the other one, the cane sugar, some of them still use it. It is being phased out.
Just to clarify, what exactly is bone char and what is the lime? Is that is it restricted from the snake, or I'm not 100% sure, just for
Extracted from the snake.
clarification.
Did you say it's from the snake?
Yeah, I think I misunderstood maybe
Oh, no,
something.
no snakes were hurt. No, 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 no. Limestone, like a stone.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
And it's still used today in food processing, in like tortillas. People actually eat it with the tortilla. But the difference with the white sugar is, or the sun crystals, is by the time it gets to the end product, there's absolutely nothing left. So that anything that is used in the filtration of it is left in like stage 2 a long time ago. So you don't, no one has to worry about it being in the end product.
And the bone char, what
Yeah,
exactly is
or the
that?
bone char. So bone char is ground up animal bones.
Right. So
Lovely
that
stuff.
means if there is a vegan label on the sugar, that it doesn't have that in, right?
Exactly. Organic never has it either. So it depends how far you want to take it because look, if you're eating out in America, they could very well be using it. They could well be using that bone char sugar. So you do the best you can. That's what veganism is about, doing what's practical and applicable to your situation. You do your best. And I think making that compromise is okay. When it comes to the bone char, there's nothing left in the final product. There's nothing, no bone char left. All you have to do is research the companies that don't use it and the ones that do. So there's like big companies like Florida Crystals, they don't use any bone char. And yeah, it's not like it's in every white sugar at all.
Yeah,
And
that's so good to
there
know.
isn't a whole lot of chemicals used. It's a myth. It's an absolute myth. There's like you got the juice, We got the juice from the sugar cane or from the sugar beets. That juice is heated and clarified. So that's when they're removing the impurities by adding in the lime, adding the carbon dioxide, and the bone char if they're using that. Sometimes they use things like sulfur dioxide or phosphonation, phosphoric acid. And I know that sounds really scary, but that sugar, the sulfur dioxide, isn't actually available to most of the world because it's called mill sugar, and it's usually produced in countries like India, for instance, and it's only available to like the locals. It's not like food grade enough. So there's a lot of, look, there's different, there is different processing depending on where it is in the world. But the general process includes the lime, which is completely harmless and is not in the end product. That's what people need to understand.
What gives you the courage to share about such controversial topics?
Oh, what gives me the courage? I think just after coming from so much pain myself, not knowing the truth and being stuck in a painful body and basically supporting terrible industries like the meat and dairy industry. And then when I found out what I was supporting, and then I started to feel much better, and I was just like so excited, so passionate about it, and immediately had to start sharing. You know, I had YouTube back in 2007, a long, long time ago now. I wasn't getting paid. I was still making videos. Those videos are not up though because I deleted a few of them. But anyway, I believe when we have the truth, we have a responsibility to share it with others who don't know, to try to help others rise as well. Because I know myself, I would have wanted that when I was in pain and not knowing what direction to take in life and supporting horrible industries and all of that. So it's just that desire for me to help others. You know, like when it comes to the controversy, sometimes I get pissed off. You know what I mean? Like if because I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of comments over the past like nearly 18 years, that it has tested my patience, but I try to always remember these people don't know. And the three stages of truth is really important. First, it's violently opposed, or no, it's ridiculed or violently opposed. And then third is it's accepted as fact. People are just like, it's self-evident. They're like, oh, okay. So they often have to go through those three steps in order to actually get to the truth. So I understand that, and I need to always remember that people are not where I'm at and they need help.
Okay, so you're at a place right now where you are very lean, you're experiencing this amazing health, and a lot of people might say you can get away eating sugar because you're already lean. What are your thoughts around that? Would you say that sugar is something you would also recommend someone to incorporate who's maybe looking to release weight, or would you
Yes,
only incorporate it if you're looking to maintain it?
both. Both, because it helps bring the body to your natural weight. That's what I believe. And I'm not saying that you should replace meals with sugar. I'm not saying that. Okay, I'm always about the fruit. A fruit-based diet is best, and you need to eat fiber. You need to have proper meals as well. But it can help bump up the nutrition in poor fruit quality, right? That can really, really be helpful. And then people start to enjoy what they're eating, and people who need to gain weight can gain weight because of how much, the body is wanting to come to a set point, to a healthy weight. And those who are needing to lose weight, it can also help power their fitness and help them to move their body more, have that motivation to move and actually get leaner that way. Because this is really important. Not enough people realize that if you want to starve yourself into the results, if you want to restrict the calories in order to get smaller, it's not going to work long term. You're going to end up going to the caffeine. You're going to end up potentially weight loss drugs and other terrible things, and you're going to have to keep micromanaging how many calories in, calories out, all that rubbish. It just doesn't work. The way you need to get leaner is you need to be patient because it's going to take some time. You've got to work hard. Okay, there's got to be some sweat and tears involved. And you just need to do it through moving. Eat more, move more. That is the equation. That's what you need to do if you want long-term results and also to feel not freaking crazy, right, during the process, to feel actually balanced and satisfied and nourished like you should be, rather than just so depleted and like some of these keto diets and stuff like that. It's very, very sad. So must be nourished and must lose that fat eventually through movement, consistent movement, and enough calories as well.
Yeah, so amazing. And the amazing benefit about that is that you're then also in taking more nutrients because you're eating more and because you're moving more. So I think it's really awesome. Which brings me to another question I have. Why don't you just add more dates to your meals? Because you say that the reason you add sugar is because the fruit doesn't contain as much natural sugar anymore because of the farming practices. So
Yeah, yeah,
dates, from my experience, are still pretty high in sugar. Why is
definitely.
that not something that you would just incorporate into your smoothies instead of the sugar?
Yeah, I get it. I get it where that question comes from for sure, because dates are amazing. They're super nutritious. I love them. I still eat a lot of dates. But it's kind of like comparing apples and oranges. You can't use dates for the same purpose always as sugar. Okay, like sugar can be used in a whole lot of other applications that dates don't work that well in. I mean, if you're going to add dates to water, it's not going to be that nice. Sure, you can do Datorade, but just add it to the. But you can do Datorade, but it's still not the same. Not only that, I want this to be something that people all over the world can access easily, and everyone around the world basically has access to sugar. It's cheap. Okay, I only recommend organic dates. And if you to compare the sugar with the dates, they're like 10 times more expensive. Right? That's not really accessible to everybody, but sugar is accessible to everyone. And
How
also,
come only organic, just for clarification?
oh, I don't like the practices of them spraying the dates and stuff like that, which they do. And if I can get the organic, I will. I don't ever really have non-organic. I do avoid non-organic fruit as well,
Right.
and vegetables whenever possible. But yeah, it's like 10 times more expensive. You get way more calories. The calorie density is like uh yeah, it's definitely more bang for your buck with the with the sugar versus the dates. And if people want to use dates to add to the smoothies and stuff like that, go for it. It's amazing. It really is good. But it also adds more bulk. And I find over the years, I've had a lot of individuals complain about. So you buy this like poor quality fruit from the supermarket and say you're going to have 10 bananas that taste really bland, and people are already really feeling quite stuffed eating that much. And then you ask people to bring up the flavor by adding, you're going to have to add at least 10 dates sometimes. It depends on which ones you're having. But to get it to the point where sugar would just be, you can add that sugar without the bulk, without that extra bulk in the stomach, and you can get those calories without actually feeling as full. And for some people, that's really important to keep them on the path. And also, I was thinking like for anorexics as well. I can imagine like when I was anorexic, if I had sugar water and I had that freedom to add sugar, that would help me a lot because I didn't want the bulk in the stomach. And I was psychologically tortured in that way, thinking, oh my gosh, that means I'm fat if I have this full stomach. So the sugar can actually be quite valuable in that case as well.
Yeah, that's an interesting point you brought up about the bulk. Then there's the other side of the spectrum and the plant-based weight loss experts on YouTube and Instagram who recommend to focus more on foods that are less calorie dense. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, you could take it to the extreme, like Healthy Emmy, and add zucchini to your oatmeal.
No. Oh my gosh. I need to talk to that girl.
But I do personally also think that the reason why the raw food or the high raw lifestyle is so great for weight loss is because we are incorporating more foods that aren't as calorie dense compared to what you eat on a standard American diet. So to me, that could be a controversial point as well, that maybe a lot of people have fear around adding sugar to their diet because they think, sugar is so calorie dense. It's basically empty calories. What are your
Mm.
thoughts on that?
Oh, that empty calories comment. Yes, that one gets me going, gets me going. Just because, look, every cell in the human body runs on glucose and the liver loves fructose. Okay. In order to balance the blood sugar, you need fructose going to the liver. And a lot of people are getting that fructose, or some at least, from sugar, from the sun crystals, because it's a even split of glucose and fructose. So to say that sugar is empty calories is just, it's your main fuel source. It's so important. Like, if you take out that sucrose, if you take out that sugar out of fruit, who's going to want to eat it? No one's going to want to eat that, because we're sugar miners. We are going for that sucrose. We're going for that fructose and the glucose in the fruit. We're after that. And if you take that out of that shows how empty it is. You know what I mean? It's so important to us that we're not going to even eat fruit, this sweet fruit, if it's not in there. It's crucial for life. And there's so many actually sugar deficient people walking around. That's a serious thing, being like glucose deficient. And I see that. I see that in a lot of the low carbers, oh, even in the plant-based movement as well. This whole, yeah, like add the zucchini to your porridge and eat like a massive plate of broccoli for dinner. And where is your fructose coming from? Where? That that that's why these individuals are not satisfied eating that way. And I have stayed with individuals who are quite well known, and they're eating a plant-based, like a whole food plant-based. I think it's WFPB or something like that. And they're trying this one, and they were adding sugar to their food, but they weren't telling people. And I was like, this is not right. You should be actually sharing that you're actually adding sugar because you need it. You're desiring it because you're not getting that fructose. And this goes back to not following a fruit-based diet. A lot of these plant-based promoters are saying, oh, don't eat too much fruit still. Even Dr. Greger, don't eat too much fruit, even though I made a video saying that we're frugivores. He has a science video where he shows that our gut flora is in alignment with frugivore animals. So we're meant to be getting most of our calories from fruit. But then somehow he missed that in his book and basically told people to not eat too much. And yeah, so it's not empty calories, it is full calories. It is absolutely full.
And what about the point with the calorie density? Because wouldn't you agree that it's pretty good to also incorporate things that are not as calorie dense?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's why I recommend a fruit-based diet first and foremost. Eating fruit is very, very important. And the other ones, the broccoli and vegetables and stuff like that, that doesn't keep anyone satisfied. It is just too low in calories, too low in carbohydrates. So, of course, fiber, micronutrients, these are all important. And that's why I recommend adding the sugar to bump up the nutrition. I'm not recommending people to sit there and eat tablespoons of sugar just straight like that. But the sugar water can also be a good incorporation. I've read so many positive actually reviews of people drinking the sugar water and really, really enjoying it, and it improving their life and their energy. So yes, calorie density. Uh, I mean, people don't need to be scared of the like de novo lipogenesis, where the new creation, which literally means new creation of sugar of fat from the sugar, because the body uses that sugar like so efficiently. It needs to use it for every function of the body. Every cell is dependent on sugar. So the body doesn't want to convert it to fat. It can, but it is rare. You've got fat calories coming in, they're stored at something like 96% efficiency, basically from your fork to your butt. or your gut or wherever you like to store it. Um, and the sugar is actually burned up at basically 90% efficiency. It's like the opposite. It's so valuable. It's like metabolic gold, to the body. So people don't need to, they shouldn't be looking at the sugar as the source of the weight gain. They should be looking at the fat. And that's why I recommend 5% of daily calories from fat. The Okinawan women are historically the longest lived women in history, and they were averaging 6% of daily calories from fat. So it works.
A lot of people say that when you want to have good brain health, you should be adding more fat to your diet, and sugar is really harming the brain. Would you say that's really true?
No. No, no, no. It's it's amazing because every cell in the brain runs on sugar as well. It's very, very dependent on sugar. And the brain is actually 2% weight-wise of the entire body. It's only 2% of the body weight, but it actually takes 20 to 25% of the daily calories it requires to keep going. So it's kind of like the the guest at the dinner party, the smallest guest having the biggest part of the feast, demanding most of the feast, right? Like the brain is very, very, I call it the sugar diva. It's a sugar diva. It's very, very hungry for sugar. And people need to understand that the brain in a healthy state is not running on fat. It's not running on protein. If you if you want to, you can force your body to run on protein and fat. And protein is basically protein creates in order to create 2 grams of, sorry, 1 gram. I'm getting there. In order to create 1 gram of sugar, you have to basically process 2 grams of protein. And it's very inefficient. So it's like double. It's very wasteful. It's the body doesn't want to do gluconeogenesis, converting that protein into sugar. It doesn't want to do it. It's a backup and it's a stress on the body. So it makes no sense to be trying to get your sugar secondhand like that when you can just get it straight. It's perfect. So yeah, just remember that the brain is very sugar hungry. It's obsessed. It needs nearly 25% of your daily calories in order for you to function at your best.
A lot of people say, however, that you could just run on protein and fat and that you don't need the carbs. And even in my close environment, whether that's family or friends, I hear people telling me all
I
the time,
know.
I'm gonna start keto now. Do you think it's actually possible to do it?
You will die. You will die eventually. Sure. I mean, we all know that people can fast. We all know fasting is possible and people do it all the time. Yeah, sure. But you can only do it for a certain period of time. And what I want people to understand when it comes to fasting is that we have a basal metabolic rate. So we have a certain amount of calories that we need to consume daily in order to just cover the functioning of our body, the running of our organs. Even if we're just lying in bed, we still have usually at least 1,500 calories if you're an adult that needs to come from somewhere. So if you're not actually eating food, when it comes to fasting, if you're not eating food, where are those calories going to come from? From your own tissue. And people might be like, "Oh, yay, I get to like burn fat." It doesn't work like that. You know, when you burn fat in the absence of carbohydrates, you actually create a lot of toxicity in your body. Ketones, it's a very stressful, it's basically sick state that you're putting your body into ketosis. And the protein is coming from your muscle tissue. After a few days, once you exhaust your glycogen stores, you're going into your muscle tissue. And muscle is like metabolically active tissue that we want to keep. It helps you burn fat when you're at rest. It's amazing. It's not something you want to be cannibalizing. You know what I mean? You don't want to eat yourself in order to fuel the basic functions of the body. So might have got a bit sidetracked there, but you know what I mean? It's like if people believe that they can run on protein and fat, they need to understand they're creating a very bad metabolic situation for themselves. And that's why you see a lot of ketoacidosis, keto issues, people creating a lot of inflammation and acid in the body, and basically eating themselves and slowing their metabolism. That's another thing. If you slow your metabolism, you become a more efficient fat storer. This is a fact. And people then get hyperphagia, which is this extreme eating, and they just binge and binge and binge afterwards. And then they become heavier and heavier, heavier even than when they started. And it's basically telling the brain, when you're starving yourself like that, it's telling the brain to conserve the fat that comes in, conserve the energy, slow down all the functioning of the body because, look, we don't have enough coming in, we don't have enough carbohydrates. So it's really not good for the metabolism.
Right. Thank you for sharing. So we've talked a lot about keto now, we've talked a lot about sugar myth, and there are a few more very common things that you hear a lot around in the plant-based movement as well when it comes to sugar. And even a lot of skin experts who recommend people different protocols to heal their skin say that one big cause for skin problems is sugar.
That's
Would
a
you say
classic.
it's really true? And how come that some people are experiencing better skin when they eliminate the sugar?
Those individuals who say they're experiencing better skin from eliminating sugar, it's very usually people eliminate foods containing sugar, maybe like junk foods and stuff like that, and they equate that to sugar, right? They're like, oh, I'm getting rid of sugar. It's like you're getting rid of like a whole lot of fat, a whole lot of additives, a whole lot of other stuff, and that fat in your bloodstream, you're decreasing the amount of fat. So it's important to actually see what they're eating and what they're removing. I know a lot of people say, "Yeah, I quit sugar," and there's a lot of yeah, God, it's hard on social media. It's really hard. But when it comes to skin, you can have like two states. This is something I noticed with individuals like around my age who are having excessive amount of wrinkles. They're chronically dehydrated, and that's what sugar can actually help bring the skin back to a really healthy state and plump. You've got this like plum state and a prune state, right? The plum state is where the body, or I should say prune, like this plum, you know, a full state and a dehydrated state. And that's the beauty of sugar, because when you ingest that sugar, it's osmotic. So it actually it binds to water. It requires at least 3 or 4 grams of water to store 1 gram of sugar, of carbohydrates. So it binds, and it actually gives you this deep cellular hydration. So it really plumps the skin out. And I think that's why mine is quite plump. And I don't think there's any other real reason for it, actually, because it hydrates the skin so, so well. And I feel like if individuals included more sugar in their diet, they would actually experience similar benefits. I'm not saying it's just going to erase the wrinkles, but it is honestly one of the best anti-aging hacks I've come across, because not only does it brings more blood flow to the skin, better circulation, better hydration, and better tanning as well. It basically makes you more beautiful and more plump, like a fruit, because fruit has that sucrose in there and it has the water as well. So what I'm saying here is it is definitely not bad for the skin. And what people need to do, those individuals who are having issues with their skin and they think it's sugar, is to remove that excess fat, because society is fatted out. Absolutely fatted out. People are having far too much fat. And then the sugar goes into that fatted out system and is just like, holy crap, the sugar cannot get into the cell. The insulin is not able to bring the sugar into the cell and open that cell. So remove the fat, bring it down to 5% of daily calories for best results, and you won't have a problem with sugar. You may have a transitional period. Maybe you will have a breakout, but it will go. It will go if you keep that fat low.
And what about inflammation? Would you say there's any risk of inflammation when you incorporate sugar?
I actually believe that it's anti-inflammatory for sure. It's not. So that's another thing. Excuse me. We have the macros, we have the protein, we have its amino acids, we have the fat, which is the fatty acids. It breaks down to fatty acids, acids, and then we have the carbohydrates. So this is very important when it comes to inflammation. If you are ingesting an acid-based diet, especially like meat and dairy for sure, but you can still do it on a plant-based diet as well. If you're regularly ingesting an acid-based diet, with high amino acids, high fatty acids, then you are going to have a lot of inflammation in the body. It just makes sense. The the carbohydrates, they're not they're the sugar is actually neutral on the pH scale. It's not acidic. It's not acidic. And I think people need to grasp that concept because not enough people are considering the fact that fat and protein is breaking down into acidic compounds, and some of it we need, but it's very easy to cover our needs. There's people going way over. You know what it's like with the protein on social media these days. It's a terrible obsession. So no, it's actually anti-inflammatory. Focus on the carbs, include the fruit, the sugar, and you're going to reduce the amount of acid in your body.
Interesting. Thank you for sharing all these thoughts on sugar. And I have one very last question that I ask everyone I interview, and that is if you could travel back in time to the Freelee who just started out with the fruit-based lifestyle and you could give her three advice, what would you tell her?
What would I tell her? Don't be afraid of sugar. That was that was the first thing.
I thought you were gonna say
Yeah,
that.
don't be afraid of sugar. Do some more research. uh, yeah, number two, Uh, I am thinking. Be patient and realize that you are changing. And you're saying at the very start of my thing when I was like 40 pounds heavier. Yeah, yeah. You're changing. The future is bright. Everything's going to be okay. You're on the right path finally. That's number two. Number three. Yeah, I feel like I think just really don't focus on weight. Don't focus on weight. Just keep focusing on how good you feel, and the results will come in time. Be patient.
Thank you so much for sharing freely, and thank you for your time and the amazing interview and all the wisdom that you brought to me, but also to this entire world. So,
Oh,
yeah, thank you for
thank you so
everything.
much. I appreciate that. Thank you for having me on and for being open to the sugar discussion.
Of
Yeah,
course.
and I'm so glad that you're getting good results and you feel like this is a path for you. Because how long has it been for you?
5 years,
Yeah,
6 years,
nice.
something
Yeah.
around that.
Yeah,
So,
and I
yeah.
believe the results get better and better. So,
Absolutely. I can already tell, like, when I think about how it was in the beginning and how it's now, it's like worlds apart.
yeah.
And I think it has to get a little worse before it gets better. So sticking through that period is, I'm so glad I did. And yeah, it's
Oh,
definitely worth it.
awesome.
So yeah, and I'm excited also for the future when I'm like 40 or 50 and
Yeah,
people are
yeah.
not going to believe it.
Yeah, 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 good. Yeah, awesome. Well,
Well,
thanks for
thanks so
having
much,
me.
Freely. Yeah, you're
Cool.
welcome.